All right, welcome back. We continue. Steelers going through OTAs. They'll be back at work again on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week number 2 of 3. Then a break. Then training camp will be here before you know it. Ron, I want to start with you on this. Ben Roethlisberger said what he had to say this week. Joey Porter, although not in a situation where he was volunteering information, was on an interview set, NFL Network, and was answering questions about Roethlisberger. The biggest thing he said, I think, takeaway is Ben should have apologized earlier to Antonio Brown. First of all, my take is I don't think he owed him an apology at all. That's just me. What was your take on that comment?
Well, I just think it's a bad look for Porter because he's no longer a player. He's a coach, and I'm assuming he wants to get back into coaching, and I think coaches are held to higher standards. But this didn't start today. This goes back to 2005. Porter and Ben had an incident in the locker room. I don't know if Ben has ever got over it. I don't know if Porter's ever got over it. I just don't know what he stands to gain by doing this. If players want to do it, okay. I just thought it was a bad look for Porter.
Ron, how many times has Joey Porter done something where you wonder what he stood to gain by doing what he did?
Yeah, plus,
and he's a former coach.
One other thing, Jeff, lose credibility. The guy was arrested after a playoff game. I mean, and suspended because of it. And he's talking about someone else being a bad leader?
Yeah, could Ben have handled this differently? Yes. Could he have called him right away and said, listen, I said this, here's what I meant, let's talk or whatever? But you know what their relationship was. And again, in this whole scenario, Ben wasn't the one who quit on his team. It was Antonio Brown. For some reason, not everybody, a lot of people like to go out of their way to make Antonio Brown some type of victim. He was no victim in this situation. He got called out by his quarterback for doing something he thought was wrong. If he had an issue with that, he could have gone to the quarterback and they could have solved it right there. But instead, he pouted and acted like a baby, like he does.
That's the chasm. That's the gap here, is this belief on Porter's part that Ben was supposed to know that he angered Brown to that incredible degree when Brown didn't let him know until that practice somewhere around week 17, where he allegedly threw the football at him when things went off the rails before the Bengals game to conclude the season. How is Ben supposed to know that he's supposed to apologize when Brown didn't say anything? And that just kind of seems to be excuse-making, convenience to put on the argument after the fact.
Well, I think Ben did talk to him the next morning, and he claims that, they parted very well. But the more I hear about this, I don't think this had anything to do with Antonio's relationship with Ben. It was about wanting more money and a guaranteed contract. He talked his way out of town. He succeeded at doing that. If the Steelers would have said, we're going to tear up your contract, we would have never heard about any discord with Ben Roethlisberger.
I 100% agree with it. I think that's spot on, and I think that's what he wants. It's always about more money, and eventually the frustration level will kick in Oakland. If things go bad, we'll wait to see how that happens. Next topic, and we have about a minute and a half to do it. Tim, I want to ask you about this rule, pass interference. We're going to start seeing it in preseason games, and you'll see what they're going to do with it. But there seems to be some confusion about how it will affect the Hail Mary. What's your take?
Yeah, the best part about this is they have taken, it looks like, the booth review away from non-pass interference calls in the last 2 minutes and force the coaches to throw the challenge flag to have a challenge on pass interference or not. Thank God, otherwise we would have seen the last 2 minutes of games last 10 hours. It would have taken forever.
Like the NBA.
I have no idea how you define a Hail Mary. You got to figure out down, distance, time. Is it the last play? How you know it's going to be the last play? Does the guy have to catch in the end zone? Does he have to cross the end zone in the air? Can he be on the 2-yard line and fall in? That just feels to me like they're simplifying one thing by what they did right this week, and they're complicating something else, and that's the wrong way to go.
And, Tim, here's another thing. When you think of a Hail Mary, how many bodies are going up for the football at the same time? Aren't there going to be guys that are hitting other guys? Is that pass interference? Is that going for the ball? How are you going to determine the arc of the ball and if a guy's going for the ball or knocking a guy out of the way? This is going to be a disaster with Hail Mary.
Well, I'm just glad we made it through a week without another replay controversy. I don't think there was anything big this week. I don't even know when I'm watching anymore if what I'm actually seeing is happening until they review it in Toronto or New York or wherever. I've soured big time on replay, man. It's not designed. It's not being used the way it was designed.
Well, that's fair, but remember, for all the NHL complaining we've done, 3 of the major calls have come because they couldn't use replay. So, I mean, there's that end of it, too.
Well, but, I mean, should everything be made replayable then?
I wouldn't mind seeing those 3 calls replayed.
Well, guess what, Tim? You're going to get your wish, because I guarantee you next year, like the NFL, the NHL will put some of that into play, and then there's no stopping. It's a runaway train. And we're going to take a break here, come back. Sports Showdown each and every Sunday night right here on KDKA-TV, 1135.